reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr, every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th, with an encore presentation, Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Protesting anthems, yes, we chanting a movement of people. It's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the poor where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seas with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's?
You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, joining you live from Washington, D.C. at The Gathering Spot. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, D-R-N-I-I-Q, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. And by all means, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. Another good reason for you to download that app is so you can use the open mic feature for calling all Black federal workers. We want to document your story, want to amplify your story, want to share your story. We've launched a new campaign called Fired But Not Forgotten, the Testimony Project. And so in the coming weeks and months, we want to make sure that we're doing our part to amplify your story. We know there are a lot of folks that were able to achieve a great deal of social and economic mobility through their good government job. And right now, those good government jobs are being challenged. A lot of people being laid off from their good government job. A lot of taxpayers aren't going to see that return on investment because people are losing their jobs. But just before we came on air this afternoon, NBC News reporting that a judge has ordered the Trump administration to rescind the memo directing mass firings of federal workers. A federal judge today ordered the Office of Personnel Management to rescind earlier instructions telling federal agencies to promptly determine whether these employees should be retained at the agency. The direction, communicated in a January 20th memo and February 14th internal email, are illegal and, quotes, should be stopped, rescinded. That's what Judge William Alsup of the Northern District of California said from the bench. The ruling does not reinstate dismissed employees. The judge instructed the Office of Personnel Management to communicate to the Department of Defense on Friday, ahead of expected probationary terminations, that he has ruled are invalid. The judge has also ordered a hearing scheduled in which Acting Office of Personnel Management Director Charles Ezell will testify. The timing of that hearing is unclear. And so just before we went on air, that breaking news, as reported by NBC News, a judge ordering the Trump administration to rescind a memo calling on agencies to fire probationary employees. We will continue to keep our eyes on this, but don't be shy about sharing your story with us. You can send us your story. You can send it to info@smileyAudiomedia.com. You can also use the open mic feature on the KBLA app. And in other news, FBI Director Kash Patel wants to bring the UFC to the FBI. That's right. ABC News reporting that newly installed FBI Director Kash Patel, who proclaimed plans to overhaul the nation's premier law enforcement agency, that certainly rattled many within the Bureau. He's proposed enhancing the FBI's ranks with the help of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC. You know, the martial arts entertainment giant whose wealthy CEO, Dana White, helped boost President Trump's reelection. On a teleconference on Wednesday with the heads of the FBI's 55 field offices, Patel suggested that he wants the FBI to establish a formal relationship with the UFC, which could develop programs for agents to improve their physical fitness. And sources who have, that's according to sources who've been briefed on this, the virtual meeting with each field office's special agents in charge has long been a weekly occurrence, but this week's call was the first led by Patel, who was sworn in as director of the FBI on Friday. And so, you know, do you want your FBI agents to, you know, have some certification in UFC fighting? You know, that may not be a bad thing in the eyes of some. Moving along, it's time to sound off in our More Perfect group chat. For those of you that are streaming live on YouTube, I want to put this question to you. You know, long champions of social justice, Black athletes, they say that their voices are needed more now than ever. Do you feel that way? If so, sound off in the chat. Or if you don't, also sound off in the chat. We want to hear from you. The Griot is reporting that for WNBA veteran Natasha Cloud, speaking up about social justice is just as important as winning basketball games. Cloud has had a successful 9-year pro career that includes a WNBA championship and being the career assist leader for her former Washington Mystics. She's also used her platform for social justice advocacy, from sitting out the 2020 WNBA season to focus on community reform efforts, to joining protests after the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police. Cloud believes that it's more imperative than ever for athletes across American professional sports to speak out against racial discrimination in the face of President Trump's sweeping actions, his orders, to end government diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And corporations and major institutions face pressure to roll back DEI policies aimed at creating opportunity. Cloud says athletes should be doing more and saying more. The question is, what say you? When we come forward, we have a great show lined up for you today, starting with a conversation with comedian George Wallace. He's going to be talking about his new show, co-starring our very favorite Laverne Cox. And then a little bit later, we're going to be talking about all things immigration reform with two superstar experts in the field, Alan Orr and Shan. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and always a pleasure to be in the company of Dr. George Wallace, co-star of Clean Slate on Amazon Prime. Welcome to the show, George.
Hello, everybody. Doctor, how are you? Two doctors talking to each other. I don't know what you do, what kind of prescription you give, but my prescription is laughter. And that's what we're going to talk about, laughter and enjoying life.
Well, my prescription is education. So don't choke, because I ain't that kind of doctor.
Okay, but it's okay. It's okay, because education is all about this new show, Clean Slate. Same thing. We're going to educate America to learn how to love more and give more.
That's right. And so I was really surprised to learn that even though Norman Lear, the great Norman Lear, died at the age of 101 about 15 months ago, he's still releasing new projects, including this one. It's called Clean Slate. It's on Prime Video, starring George Wallace and Laverne Cox. He's an Alabama car wash owner. She's a prodigal daughter, and they have a heck of a story to tell.
We have a heck of a story because it's something new for Harry, the character played by George Wallace, that is just thrown out of the park. I had a son and didn't know it until 23 years later. I actually have a daughter, and surprised me at the door. And I said, "Pretty lady, you've got to go. My son is coming home." And she says, "Dad, it's me," with the most beautiful smile in the world. And if that's your kid, you can look in the eyes and go, holy, oh my, Desmond, my son, the prodigal son has come home. Now is my daughter. So now all of my pronouns have to change everything. I have to learn a lot. Doctor, there's a lot to be learned. And ironically about this show, me being an old man set in my ways, I think she has more problems dealing with me than I do with her. So
Interesting. And so, George, tell us why this project and why now?
The project came about because I just basically wanted to reboot Sanford and Son.
Sanford and Son.
I just wanted to hear and we're in the feel-good music. So whether you're watching that show or just walking by, that music, Quincy Jones, thank God, makes you feel good. So I went to Norman Lear. I said, let's reboot Sanford and Son. I said, you've rebooted everything else. Why not Sanford and Son? He said, well, that's the toughest one to do. Go back, come with a twist, maybe we'll see what we can talk about it, but I don't think it can be done. So at the time, Orange is the New Black was a hot show. And everybody in America was talking about Laverne Cox. And I'm going, who the hell is Laverne Cox? Never watched the show at all, but I did hear her story. And I'm from Atlanta, and I rode the back of the bus. So planted deep embedded in me is discriminatory practices. Never, ever in my life, not only against me, not against anybody, ever. I don't like it. And I thought what she was going through, and I called her. I said, what if I had a son that went to New York and did the same, came back, blah, 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 blah. And she joined on board to be also co-executive producer. And man, it's a great job she's doing. And I just love it, the idea. And all we're doing is spreading joy and love and acceptance and clean slate, meaning everybody get a chance to start a new life or forgiveness and start over. Sit back and think about your life. And is it me? That's most of all you got to think about. Is it me? Maybe I'm doing something wrong, because you can love everybody. You can love everybody. Once you get to know people, people just don't know. There was a time when black people couldn't play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Black people couldn't be president.
Mm-hmm.
Black people couldn't talk like Jasmine Crockett is talking.
Mm-hmm.
So people can change. You get used to it. You go, not bad at all. And so that's what we're teaching America. And we're learning, we're listening, we're loving, and we're doing it with a sense of humor.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And we definitely saw that on full display just this past weekend at the NAACP Image Award.
Oh my God, you were there?
I was there, and I saw you and Laverne present, and you all are a heck of a dynamic duo.
That's what people are saying. And that's us on the set. We just love to have fun. And they call it chemistry. We don't know. We just get along well together. And we deliver our lines just like our characters are supposed to deliver them.
Yeah.
And we're having fun with it. And we can't wait to get back to work.
Well, we can't wait to see a Clean Slate on Amazon Prime. There's nothing out there quite like it. But George, I've got to ask you, given the political climate that we find ourselves in, what's your message to people out there that may not see trans rights as a part of the struggle for civil and human rights? For folks who may not even see Black trans folks as a part of the Black community in the same way as you or me?
I don't know whether I'm going to answer this question right, but like I said, we're promoting love and educating people. I'm being educated. Maybe America can be educated with me. Now, the show is presented in a way that it's a trans story, but once you get into it, like the second episode, you don't even think about the trans story. You just think about love. I got a daughter. That's what we're presenting, a new package that's never been done, and acceptance, and learning how to accept love from different walks of life. It didn't have to be trans. It could have been drug abuse. It could have been child abuse. But my son, my daughter, my child is returning home. And you know what, doctor? I got to love my child no matter what. That's what people are going to see in this show. And we hope some people will learn. Some people won't be. I'm learning a lot right now from my family members. Some of my family members are homophobic, all that stuff like that. They're calling me crying, going, George, they can't even talk because they're finding love in the story. The most important thing is this is in a lot of homes in America. Over 80% of the homes in America have some kind of problem with their siblings, with their kids, with their parents. It's for everybody. learning how to love, live, and let live, and enjoy life.
So, George, you've talked about the effect that this show, Clean Slate, on Amazon Prime Video, has had on members of your family. But what about you? What did Harry, the car wash owner, learn from George, the comedian, and what did George, the comedian, learn from Harry, the car wash owner?
Well, Harry is learning everything about George. Harry really is George because I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. We always called it a city too busy to hate. We never had too many problems in the city. We always wanted to get along and love each other. And my family out of Atlanta, Georgia, we're just Southern people. I came from one of those villages where everybody loved everybody. And we had one mama in the whole neighborhood. There's about 1,000 people lived in this black neighborhood in Buckhead, the rich section of Atlanta. About 1,000 people lived in one neighborhood with one mama. And when I say one mama, that's whoever that mama is closest to you that sees you and around you would straighten you up if you were doing something wrong. And you hope they didn't call home. So we've had love. The people in my neighborhood right now are telling me, oh my God, this is Linwood Park. This is Linwood Park where I grew up. And it's just so much giving love back to the community and growing and loving each other. Working with Laverne, and one great thing she did. Great. She insisted that a portion of the crew be from her community. And I did not, and go into the reader's room, you got gay people, straight people, queer people, black people, white people, old people, young people. So America is represented in that room, and that's what's great. And her people being in the quarters, working in the premises, you learn a lot. You learn a lot. You learn how people can be professional no matter what they do. Let's just say one of the makeup artists has a beard, long hair, boots, and a pink skirt. So you look at first, but after you work with them for 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 months, you go like, everybody's doing their job. And damn it, they're doing a real good job. It's professional, it's done. And guess what we're doing? We're laughing just like family. And when that happens, you forget about who's who and who's what. That's my friend. And of course, I'm 20 years older than everybody, so I'm the real daddy. And they respect me as a daddy. Laverne and I are coming so close. It's getting really better that I'm proud to be. She didn't have a good relationship with her daddy, but I have a lot of kids around America that my nieces that I have the Bernie Mac situation. My sister had kids, but I'm their dad. I love it. I love helping young kids out and teach. It's the same thing with the comedians. I love helping young comedians. I just enjoy life. And I'm the most blessed person you've ever met. I often say I'm the most successful person you've ever met. It's not how much money you make. It's how you enjoy your life while you're living.
Amen.
And that's what I try to do. And you just said amen.
I did. I would send around the collection plate if I had one right here. No, I mean, you've had a storied career. I mean, almost 50 years. Did I get that right? Almost 50 years?
It's 1976, almost 50 years.
Wow.
Isn't that a blessing? And I so often have to tell the people, I tell the young people all the time, make sure you enjoy your life. That's the most important thing. Just because you're getting a degree in marketing doesn't mean you got to do statistical analysis the rest of your life. You might enjoy arranging flowers, painting cars, fixing refrigerators. As long as you're doing what you love, the money will come. And you're never working. And I teach the young kids, make sure you travel. That's important. When you travel around the world, you find new cultures you deal with, and you learn that there's good people everywhere. That's the most important thing. Learning how to live with people all over the world, enjoying life. Because I tell the young people, life is backwards. Don't you hear old people always say, when I turn 65, I'm going to retire and travel all over the world.
I've heard it before.
You too damn old. Travel while you're young people. As soon as you get out of college, get on an airplane, charge it to your parents. Go to another country. Have some fun. Make sure you enjoy your life. You don't want to die being old and haven't been anywhere.
And, that is sage advice out there. And especially in times like this, because, George, I don't know about you, but I like to think that when we travel, we have an opportunity to learn something about the world around us, the world overseas, right? And suddenly some of the things that we perceive as a challenge are a little bit less of a challenge. Some of the things that are more difficult to understand, suddenly they're a bit more easy to understand, no?
Doctor said a little less of a challenge. I first got to Hong Kong, and I walked to my hotel. I was late. And everybody said, Mr. Wallace, you know, they have the bowing tradition in Asia. Mr. Wallace, we're happy that you're here today. And I'm going like, damn, everybody here got the English spoken. These Chinese people are speaking well. I'm in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a British colony up until 1999. Everybody speaks English in Hong Kong. That's their first language. And you go, oh my God, I didn't know that. Because you're taught and you're so ignorant, you think when you get off the plane in Beijing and Hong Kong, you're going to hear ding-a-ling-a-ding, ding, 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 ding. And then you get to these cities, you go, oh my God. You get to Shanghai. Shanghai is 3 times larger than New York City. 3 times more people than New York City. 3 times more modern than New York City. And you're going like, holy shit. We got a lot to learn. As old as we are, we don't have a bullet train. They got bullet trains. They got the hotels with the lobby on the 86th floor. Hotels are just beautiful. You go to Macau. Macau makes Atlantic City make Las Vegas look like Atlantic City. And then you go to Bangkok, and then you find yourself over in Dubai. You just find yourself loving the world. I was in East Germany before they tore the wall down, talking to what's their rule over there? What's their law? Communism. Communist kids, they don't know about the government, but they do know how to laugh and accept people and have fun. And I enjoyed that more than anything else. So that's why I love to teach people to travel and enjoy their lives.
I know over the years, you have made a lot of people laugh, including some members of the U.S. military, both here in country and abroad. I had to get your reaction to this headline that's trending right now. Earlier today, the Pentagon has ordered transgender troops to be separated from the military. The Hill is reporting that transgender service members will be removed from the military within 60 days unless they're granted a waiver demonstrating their support of war-fighting capabilities, according to a policy memo that was issued late yesterday by the Pentagon. Clean Slate is not just your regular show. It is an education. It is an immersion.
Thank you.
And our military has evolved over the years because of people from different backgrounds have come together and they've had the opportunity to learn from one another and have a deeper level of immersion and community with one another. And so I want to get your take on this headline that's trending. What say you, George Wallace?
Well, George Wallace is going to stop and think about and make sure I say the right thing, because once again, I told you up front, I don't like discriminatory practices against anyone, no matter what. And if they're in the military now, it seems as though they have already proved themselves to be there. So why change? And that's what we're looking for, progress in the world. They used to think that about hippies. You're not old enough to remember what hippies were, right?
I'm old enough to remember. This is salt and pepper. And in these days, it's a bit more salt than pepper. And so, yes, I remember.
So you remember back in the day, companies didn't hire long hair hippie people need not apply. And then they found out, wait a minute, we're missing some geniuses here. We don't know. Go to what's the place called in San Francisco where all of the geniuses work that don't put certain ties on. You don't know who you're talking to. What's is it Mark Wahlberg, people like that. You don't know who you're talking to. You got progress in your hand. They may have a beard. They may have on a dirty shirt. But they got thoughts and they got creative ideas, creative habits. And you got to learn people before you exercise them. Learn who people are. I just love people. I know it's a problem. It's going to be a problem, but not for me. I don't think like that. I think more Americans will watch Three Strikes and Three Strikes. That's the old show I did. But might be Clean Straight.
Clean Slate on Amazon Prime.
You say it for me. I'm so excited on this show. I can't even talk straight. Isn't that amazing?
We love it.
Clean Slate is what we're talking about. We're talking about love. We're promoting love no matter what. Make sure you do unto others as you have them do unto you. That's that simple.
That's right. It is just that simple. And it's also just that simple to check it out on Amazon Prime. It's called Clean Slate. Again, co-stars George Wallace and Laverne Cox. They are quite the dynamic duo. And on this show, we like to say, do what you can from where you are with what you have. Do what you can with your remote control, and lean into this story. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. Our thanks to
Dr. George Wallace, and I always say, I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
That's
and
right.
Thank you so much for being on your show. This is not long enough. I got to come back with you again, okay?
I'd love to have you again anytime.
I appreciate you. Okay, don't ever say that to me because I'll call back tomorrow.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you've tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
The wind is blowing cold. Have we lost our way tonight? Have we lost our hope to sorrow?
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Mississippi Senate has approved new district maps, adding a majority black district after a federal order. 10 special elections will be held with primaries on August 5th and the general election on November 4th. Savannah, Georgia plans to revitalize a historic black district with a $50,000 project, including removing the I-16 flyover and linking it to tourism. The project runs through 2029. Illinois Public Schools has decided to keep teaching LGBTQ+, Black and Asian American history despite federal warnings. State officials say it's required by law and the warning lacks legal weight. And some Broward County, Florida residents are supporting President Trump's plan to prioritize resettling South African Afrikaners. They cite rising violence with reports of farmers rushing to the U.S. Embassy for help. Supporters say conditions in South Africa are becoming increasingly dangerous. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
As you come away from Hollywood, 101 southbound before Melrose, an accident just cleared from the left lane over to the right shoulder. South 101 very slow from Hollywood Boulevard to the East LA interchange. Exposition Park, that's near USC. 110 southbound at Exposition Boulevard. A 3-vehicle collision is blocking one of the left-hand lanes. South 110 bumper to bumper from Hill Street down to Carson Street. Encino, 101 westbound at White Oak is a stalled vehicle cleared from the left lane.
If you or someone you know is affected by the Los Angeles wildfires, you are not alone. No matter how sad, scared, or heartbroken you feel, Cal Hope is here for you and all those affected by the devastating wildfires. Find free, safe, and confidential mental health support at calhope.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The hottest rumor in the sports world today is a report that Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford had a meeting this week with Tom Brady at a ski resort in Montana. Stafford and Brady were at the ski resort at the same time, but Brady's agent is denying that they met to talk about Stafford's future. What sounded the alarm for a lot of people is that Brady is a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders are looking for a quarterback. Stafford's future with the Rams is unclear. The Rams have given the 37-year-old Stafford permission to talk with NFL teams to determine his market value. Top-level NFL quarterbacks are averaging $45 to $50 million a year. Stafford is scheduled to earn $24 million with the Rams next season. It seems the Rams have some issues giving Stafford that much of a raise. One thing is certain, the Rams will make a decision on Stafford fairly soon. The NFL draft begins April 24th. Stay tuned on this situation. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Who cares about the Black community in Altadena? We do. On Saturday, March 8th at 10 a.m., it's the premiere of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This new weekly show will explore the deep roots and resilience of Altadena's Black community as we track its recovery and reimagine its future. From relief efforts to rebuilding, we're raising up voices, stories, and solutions to build back Black Altadena better and stronger than ever. It's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr every Saturday at 10 a.m. beginning Saturday, March 8th with an encore presentation Sundays at noon.
James Farr, the man who is the voice for Black Los Angeles.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Kadeen and Deval Ellis for P&G Good Every Day.
Babe, guess what? We can save big on all our favorite P&G brands like Tide, Cascade, and Febreze. Plus, support great causes every day.
Wait, hold up. You telling me we can save money and feel good about it? How?
Well, remember how Granny and Big Mama used to save money by cutting those coupons out of Sunday papers? Now we just go to pggoodeveryday.com, sign up for P&G's free rewards program, and get exclusive coupons.
Okay, so we can get VIP status and save money.
Exactly. We stock up on the P&G products so you, the boys, and I are good every day. just like our folks did for us.
Well, you better go visit pggoodeveryday.com right now because you got to go buy some detergent and toothpaste and toilet paper.
Me?
Yeah, you. And with all that extra cash, I got to go buy these new sneakers.
It's okay, funny man. You got jokes. Boy, focus on these savings first.
Visit pggoodeveryday.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has work source centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with 2 really highly sought out experts when it comes to immigration law. We're joined by Shan Potts and Alan Orr. You might remember Alan Orr is pretty regular. He's regular here. He is with the National Bar Association. He's chair of the Immigration Committee. And they are both here today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello. Well, first things first, just this evening, the New York Times is reporting that Mexico is transferring dozens of cartel operatives into U.S. custody. The Mexican government today sent the U.S. nearly 30 top cartel operatives wanted by American authorities, including one notorious drug lord whom U.S. officials have been seeking to bring to justice for 40 years. Alan, how do you think this news helps or hurts the conversation around border control and reforms to our immigration system?
So I think it's less about border control right now, and that's more about the tariff conversation and the drugs a little bit that's happening, that's implementing at the same time. I think it's great. I mean, I think the president of Mexico is smart. I think that she's playing the long game. And I think if she has access to these individuals to turn them over to our government, that was the appropriate move. But the question is, so what are we going to do with them, right? What kind of due process will they receive? What kind of processing will they receive? And that's one of the concerns that we have about Gitmo. The further removed these individuals are from lawyers, because in our system, just because we say that you're guilty doesn't mean that you're guilty, is to make sure that they all have an equal process to go through to make sure they're actually guilty of something. So that's one of the concerns we have, like what happens next? Where do these individuals go?
I mean, were you surprised at all? That the president of Mexico, sort of made a 180? Because, there had been a lot of talk between the Trump administration and the new president of Mexico around some sort of deal. And at the last minute, it looks like it turned on a dime.
Yeah, so I would not underestimate her in any form or fashion, because she's also a great negotiator and she was trained in the United States. So just continue to watch her. I think she's super smart. I don't know if you also saw the stories that she had last week about bringing claims about guns that were being released into Mexico that were manufactured in the United States. So I would not underestimate her. And once again, if they are criminals, they are concerned for Mexico as well as the United States. So maybe what she just handed off was exactly what Trump said the world was sending, was some of the worst, for us to now be responsible for these individuals and their processing.
Well, we will continue to follow this. I want to bring you into the conversation, Shan Potts. You're with the law offices of Shan Potts. Talk to us about some of the more recent headlines that we have seen related to the children of immigrants. We know that Kristi Noem the current Secretary of Homeland Security, has not been shy about going after the children of migrants. We know that there's another detention center, for example, that is being set up. Talk to us about what is afoot as it relates to the children of migrants. What does our audience need to know?
Well, there's been some reversal in policy on that issue, but we're revisiting an old evil where we've seen children in the prior administration being placed in camps. There's been some reversal on that, in large part due to just advocacy, just American people and American advocates just speaking up. And so advocacy works. I don't know in the long term how, what this administration will continue to do, but depriving children of the right to counsel, to due process is what we're seeing. The pushback from advocates and American people have kind of made some inroads on that. And we've seen that the Trump administration kind of lighten up a little bit, but I don't know how long that would hold.
And speaking of the Trump administration, we know that they told groups that they can resume providing legal services to tens of thousands of unaccompanied children. But how much of this is just pure gamesmanship, right? I mean, one day you're saying that these groups can't provide legal services, and then the next day you're saying that they can. Is this a part of a strategy that is afoot by the Trump administration to catch people flat-footed as they push forward this very chaotic immigration law enforcement plan?
Well, in removal proceedings, they're civil in nature, administrative in nature. So there's no right to have counsel. So I don't know if the administration is playing lip service because they're attacking a very, very vulnerable community. I have no faith in this administration to extend legal representation to this group. Their history in the past has demonstrated otherwise. And this push against immigrant children, against brown and Black people, is a part of a larger narrative. When we think of children, we think of them as the most vulnerable in our community. But whether or not that empathy will be extended to children, I don't have a lot of faith in this administration. I think all are subject to its ill intention. And so, as I'm sure as Alan's aware, and we all know that in these proceedings, you're not entitled to counsel, and whether or not the government is going to extend that right, that opportunity, I don't believe so.
And speaking
in the long run.
And speaking of what you're entitled to, most of us believe that we are entitled to due process. But Kristi Noem, the new Secretary of Homeland Security, says that due process will be followed for migrants at Guantanamo Bay, but a lot of people aren't so sure. NBC News reporting that Homeland Security Secretary Noem said just this past Sunday that the due process will be followed for all migrants housed at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, in the wake of President Trump's announcement last week that his administration plans to house thousands of migrants at that military camp there. What should we expect, Alan? What should we be prepared for in the event that this is really just lip service?
Yeah, so there are already federal claims, a case from the ACLU with regards to being able to investigate the procedure. And there was actually another part of their production where Pete Saggart, or whatever his name is, the new name over the armed forces, allowed actual person to come in and see the beds to say that things were fine there, which is pretty bad when you do that sort of show and tell without the actual immigrants there. The immigrants that had been moved there, the 30 were removed there and sent on to Venezuela. And it came out that they actually did not have dangerous crimes. Only one individual had a link to being in a gang, and the others had no other dangerous crimes for that to be shown to go to Gitmo. But for the American people, it isn't so much about what they're doing, it's also about the cost, right? It is millions of dollars for an airplane, $880,000 for an airplane to take 23 people from the United States to Gitmo and then to take them on to Venezuela. So the cost benefit analysis is not making sense, and nor is it being reported. So what we're missing is the transparency. Let's see who these individuals are, who they say are the worst of the worst to go to Gitmo. What are their crimes? When did they happen? Let's see the rap sheet. We've not seen that. In addition, also be transparent with regards to the cost.
Alan, NBC News is also reporting that immigration enforcement agencies have ramped up their activity in the past 2 weeks, really escalating the need for more detention space for migrants while they're processed for deportation and repatriation. At some point, do you expect this administration to kind of run out of gas or run into a wall where they quite frankly won't have the capacity to deliver on the kind of mass deportation that they've sold to some voters in the 24 election cycle?
Well, welcome to the results on the balance sheet. And let's see, Mr. Potts may have a different analysis than I have, but the numbers aren't mathing with regards to the number of people they removed and the detention beds they had. In the very beginning of January, there were 41,000 beds available. 39,000 of them were occupied. And so far, they're saying they're removing somewhere close to 10,000 individuals last month, or I guess it was 30,000 is the number they gave, but most of those people were just returned from the border. So they don't have the beds. They're doing contracts right now to sort of turn military bases into detention centers, which is expensive to sort of rehouse them and repurpose them. And also there are private contractors who are doing bids right now. These government contractors who've been released are now doing bids to see if they can do this housing facility. So therefore, once again, there's a cost problem that's involved in it, but also the number problem. And when we think about this mass deportation as a production of one in which they said they caught 110 people in Houston over the weekend, which is their largest sort of fine yet, still no transparency with regards to the cost or who those individuals were. 100 people out of 11 million people is not a mass deportation. So the math isn't mathing and the numbers aren't doing that. But you can sell whatever story you want to sell because they, once again, published in a nice report that they caught 30,000 people and the Obama administration only caught 20,000 people in the whole year. But the problem was it wasn't apples to apples. It was apples to oranges because they were including everybody that they caught, regardless of if they were a criminal and if they were caught and also released. That's the other underlining issue. There have been a number of individuals who've been caught by the Trump administration and then released.
Not long ago, Capital B News reported on free and low-cost legal help for Black immigrants in Atlanta. When we come forward, I want to ask Alan and Shan to weigh in on any tips, tools, and resources they offer to you, our leaders, learners, and listeners who care deeply about how these reforms to our immigration system are impacting our families, impacting our communities. Like, did you know that racially biased policing practices result in Black immigrants being stopped, being searched, being arrested more frequently than non-Black immigrants? For anybody out there that's telling you that, oh, immigration is not our issue, it is our issue. And I'm going to let Alan and Shan tell you exactly why. When we come forward, you're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Fatherhood includes being present during pregnancy and beyond, supporting your partner, advocating for your baby, and ensuring a healthy birth. Black fathers play a key role in reducing maternal and infant health disparities, and your involvement starts during pregnancy. Join the free AIM Fatherhood program today and learn how to support your partner, advocate for your baby's health, and connect with other fathers committed to healthier births. Visit blackinfantsandfamilies.org/fatherhood to get started.
You carry a lot. The needs of your family and friends, the responsibilities of work and home, and that doesn't stop when your period starts. New Always Ultra Thin pads are designed to keep up with your busy life. When an unexpected gush hits, you need to trust that your pad has your back and your flow. With new and improved rapid dry technology, Always Ultra Thin now absorbs 3 times faster than the leading size 2 store brand pad, so you can feel cleaner, drier, and fresher. Always Ultra Thin. Always gush ready.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with Shan Potts, Esquire of the law offices of Shan Potts. Also, Alan Orr, who is the immigration chair for the National Bar Association. For those of you that think that immigration ain't a black issue, we are here to help you correct the record. Just in case you didn't know, our friends over at BAJI, the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, they've said that although black immigrants make up only 7% of the non-citizen population, guess what? They represent 20% of immigrants in deportation proceedings due to criminal offenses. And if that wasn't enough to blow your mind, black immigrants make up nearly 10% of the U.S. black population, with over 4.6 million black immigrants living in this country. People like my father, may he rest in peace. And so, Shan, talk to us about what you're seeing in your practice when it comes to the challenges that black immigrants, black folks are experiencing with the chaos and mass deportation, I put that in quotation, mass deportation efforts of the Trump administration.
Well, black people in the United States have always been over-policed, criminalized. And so there's no distinction between immigrant populations and just the general population. I've seen it firsthand with black immigrants who see disproportionate different treatment than other immigrants in removal proceedings, being denied bond at a higher rate. And so it's no surprise that we would see black immigrants facing more targeting, more racial profiling. That's no surprise. It's an extension of what we see in our communities in general. I think there's a need for greater representation of black immigrant communities. I'm here in Southern California, and it's predominantly brown immigrants and Latino immigrants, and a lot of the resources are there. But I see a huge void in representing other immigrant communities. Haitians and other immigrant communities I see all the time are without that representation and without that support. So I think we're all familiar with black people in the U.S. are just overly policed, and it's criminality associated with the black people, including black immigrants.
And and I just want to put a finer point on this for folks in the chat that are streaming live on YouTube right now, that the reality is that we are over-policed, period. And so that means when it comes to any sort of mass deportation efforts, right, it's going to hit us harder because we're already over-policed. Alan, what say you, and what tips, tools, and resources would you offer to our leaders, learners, and listeners who feel invisible as they navigate the terrain, given the hostility around immigration in this country?
Right. Well, now may not be the time for best visibility if you're an immigrant in this country. So that's a thought. The second thing is to know your rights. You can find the ACLU or any other immigrant right group. Just search for it on the internet and just sort of review the rights that you have basically as an American or a person, a U.S. national that's here, or someone who's actually on U.S. territory with regards to your interaction with ICE and opening your property and your thoughts. The same thing goes because as they police and they sort of have this registry for immigrants right now, they're also going to be policing Black people, right? Because Black immigrants aren't separated from Black people. We live together in these communities. And when they come in, they're going to be harassing Black people, Black citizens, as well as trying to catch up some immigrants. Because as you've seen in these recent deportations, where are they to? They're Haiti, they're Venezuela, Venezuelans. A lot of Venezuelans are Black, believe it or not. They put a whole cohort of African immigrants and they just sent them to Panama to wait to send them back to their country of origin. And the way they even said that is offensive, as if Africa is just one group of people, right? Could be Kenyans, could be Ethiopians, could be Nigerians, very different people from the continent. So the concept is know your rights. Try to find a resource for yourself if you have documentation issues. If you don't have documentation issues, carry whatever documents you have that show your status. That's going to be very important as they move through to this new immigrant registration system, which harkens back to the 1950s and 1940s, which was neither a good time for Black people or for immigrants in this country.
That's right. Well, thank you for that. And Shan, in about 30 seconds, are there any tips, tools, or resources that you would like to plug for our listeners?
Well, I hearken on what Alan's saying. Know your rights. The red cards are the cards that are provided to immigrant populations, letting them know what their rights are. They've actually been effective. In the long game, I don't know how effective they will be, but people knowing their rights, people feeling empowered to assert their rights, kind of thwarts the administration somewhat, and it gives people pause. But I think the best tool that you can have is just to be informed. And I think we have to empower ourselves. Immigrants have to empower themselves by being informed, speaking with counsel in your local community, just getting out there. Because otherwise we're just a victim to what happens to us. But if we can empower ourselves just by being informed, and that's the first step. And that's what I try to do with my clients.
Well, we're gonna continue to keep our eye on this. We want to welcome you all to come on back because this is a topic that deserves as much time and attention as we can offer. Listen, there are immigrants in my family and your families and the families of so many of our leaders, learners, and listeners. And we want to make sure that folks have information they can trust from people that they can trust. And so we absolutely will stay on top of this story. Our thanks to Shan Potts, Esquire of the law offices of Shan Potts, also Alan Orr, the immigration chair of the National Bar Association. Maybe next time you all come back, bring us some of the frequently asked questions that you're getting so that we can use some airtime to amplify that.
Will do.
Our thanks to you. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Black civil rights attorney Ben Crump is demanding transparency after a February 12th Orlando, Florida police chase led to the death of Black bystander Gerald Neal. He argues the chase began over an unreadable license plate while the suspect who hit and killed Neal now faces burglary and resisting arrest charges. A historic Black Louisiana